Hello, I'm Rico Cavella. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. Now, before I introduce today's show and our expert guest, I have a quick question for you. If you've been wondering how well you are aging, well, I've got the solution for you. You can go to our main website, agelessliving.lifestyle.com, take our free aging assessment, and if you don't like the results, you can book a free call with me, and we'll discuss what challenges you're having, and I'll give you some quick and easy tips and solutions that get you going on the right track. All right, so today's show I'm really excited about because this is one we haven't really touched on much, and it's such an important one. The title of today's show is Dementia is 100% preventable. 100% preventable. And our expert guest is Dr. Brad Montagna. He is a passionate caregiver with a deep tool chest of decades of research, studies, and clinical applications of functional medicine in restoring health to those with chronic illnesses. It is common for him to be able to give people their life back that no other caregivers have been able to help. And I also want to add to it, his compassionate understanding comes from years of his own struggles with chronic illness, and the Lord giving him the tools to help him and others get free from the prison of ongoing sickness. So, Dr. Brad Montagna, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I've been looking forward to this talk. This can be fun.
Yeah, it is really fun how we can get some great information to help people, like you say, turn their life around. Well, let's begin just real briefly. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you said you had some chronic illnesses, so tell us how you really got passionate about learning all about how to heal the body.
I was 5 years old in the middle of the night when I was taken into the hospital. First time, gut-wrenching pain, but the reason why people get there, it differs, but this experience is so common with everybody with chronic illness. I'm in the hospital, I'm 5 years old, I got no explanation of what's going on, no reason why it's there, just do this, and it'll calm it down and go away. And that was first of many visits. After that, my oldest brother came home with strep throat. That ran through the house. A bunch of rounds of antibiotics, got me full of fungal infections. That is one of the foundational things that builds poor health. It just destroys the health. That went through later on in life. I got Lyme disease. No doctor, no natural doctor, no medical doctor could ever tell me what was going on. I had to figure all that out myself. I started cooking when I was a young kid to manage my own lifestyle because I had vertigo so bad the whole world spun around me every time I turned.
Wow.
My car sickness and motion sickness out in the ocean, on a boat or something like that was just over the top. And I had to learn to cook differently than the rest of my family ate at 5 years old so that my head stayed on straight so I could stay on my feet. And it just blossomed from there.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. So then did you go, what kind of education did you get then?
Well, it's interesting because I hated school. I absolutely hated school. I cut more school than anybody I know that graduated. I got out of high school in 3 years. And if I wouldn't have done that, I probably never would have graduated. Mm-hmm. But I got out of high school. I never want to see school again. I hated it. Got into construction, was 17 years old, and I started running crews. 19 years old, I got farmed out to a union company. The union audited their books, and the boss came and asked if I could do them a favor. The union found me, wondered if I go down and take my journeyman's test. I'm 19 years old. Most people start their school at 18, takes 4 years of their school, all their books. I never looked at any book, just all my work experience. I walked in, took the journeyman's test, walked out with my journeyman's card, kept running crews. And down the road, the Lord got a hold of me through some wild circumstances, I started jumping out airplanes with a friend of mine. And we go out and close the bars down, show up in the morning still drunk from the night before. You can't jump out airplanes.
Well, Brad, tell us about your health education. That's what we want to know.
Yeah. Well, Lord got a hold of me. He told me to quit work and go to school.
Okay.
And it was in that process that he showed me what he wanted me to do. And it slowly developed into what I do now. There's not one university system with a graduate program that teaches anyone how to deal with chronic illness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been something that I've studied my own research. I'm kind of a research nut. I'm a physiology nut too. I'm a nuts and bolts guy. I like to know how things work. And the only way you know how the body works is study physiology. So I've been studying physiology for over 40 years, doing my own research for 40 years, and in the functional medicine postgraduate continuing education for close to 40 years with clinical application of that. So I'm kind of unique. Not many people around that long within this kind of an industry. And my mind's still sharp, it's still bright, and we're doing things that no one else can do.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I know you work with all different kind of chronic illnesses, help people in a lot of different things. But today we really want to focus on dementia, and I like how you say dementia is 100% preventable. So first of all, how about give us your definition of dementia, and then talk about some of the root causes.
Well, dementia is where you start to lose cognitive ability, processing, ability to communicate, ability to reason. And there's all kinds of stages of that, but progressively, first we start to lose our short-term memory, ends up later and we lose our long-term memory. And I remember I went to go visit my dad when he's late stage Alzheimer's, and he asked my mom, "So, Sally, who is this nice young man that our daughter brought home to visit?"
Yeah.
I had no idea who I was. And that, it's so sad to watch that, but that's, as I said, it's 100% avoidable if we understand the basic issues of what's going on. So if we look at the brain, it's way, way more complex than the most complex computer system in the world. It's huge. The amount of nerve cells in our brain is equal to the amount of trees in the Amazon forest. And every one of those cells can have up to 10,000 connections. The amount of connections is like the amount of leaves on the trees in the Amazon forest. Wow. It's nuts. There's times in fetal development when you're developing 250,000 nerve cells a minute. And that's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yes.
and if we look at a brain, its consistency is very much like yogurt before you stir it. If you open up a can, you got this thing that's kind of like Jell-O, and you can shake it around, it'll wiggle, it'll stay kind of sort of intact. But if you shake it really hard, it turns to liquid. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happens when we get concussion, brain injuries, and things like that, is that the brain gets rattled so much that gelatinous thing tears. It creates all kinds of tears in it and gets more liquid. So when we look at what makes the brain, it's 60% water. After the water, it's 60% oils. Of those oils, it's 60%, should be 60% of the fish oils. When you start, and if we break that down into different things, there's all these communication pathways called tracks. And it's like if you took a bundle of communication wires and you stretch them across some long distance. That used to be, if you saw the old switchboard operators with all these wires and place to plug them in and all that. The brain's kind of like that with all these tracks. And then you got clusters of nerves where you get all this communication. Then that communication goes to some different thing, different place where we can get the discernment of our what our eyes see, what our ears hear, our sense in space, our ability to coordinate and move, control all of our organ functions and all that. All that runs on these tracks that go everywhere. And those tracks are made of these little fine filaments of nerve fiber called axons and dendrites.
Mm-hmm.
Those axons and dendrites, they have a coating around them to insulate it's all electrical conduction that goes down these tracks. And wherever there's a junction, it's called a synapse, there's a space that separates the electrical current from coming down. And the current comes down, it releases what's called a neurotransmitter in that space. It goes to the other side. If there's enough, it connects and it makes a pulse go down the next fiber to the next station. And there can be several of those synapses going on in there. But the insulation around all these tracks is called myelin.
Mm-hmm.
And that myelin is all cholesterol. It's pretty much the consistency of butter at room temperature. It's really, really soft. And the things that start to break down our cognitive function, first and foremost, is water. Our body's about 73 to 75% water. At 1% dehydration, we start to get all the signs of dementia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not much. You go from 75 to 74% water, and your brain doesn't function right.
Wow. Wow.
And
so let me just ask you right there. Do you think most people that do begin to have dementia, are they dehydrated? Is that one of the big factors?
We've got actually, I'll list what the factors are, and we'll talk about what each one of those does.
Yeah.
So the easiest factor to deal with is dehydration.
Okay.
Our water supply, if you're in a city, is toxic. All the minerals in water, we cannot absorb them at all. We can only absorb the kind of minerals that plants make. They chelate those minerals into functional absorbable forms that we can absorb. And that's all we can absorb. If there's crystals, if they're rock form, we can't absorb those at all. And those are just kind of waste in the water, and they take the energy out of the water. Plus they got toxins in the water and things like that. So if you're in a city situation, you need a good filtration system. The best water filtration systems out there, Aquasan is a whole house. All the independent studies prove it is the top one. It's one of the cheapest, easiest to use. Each one of their big canisters will filter like 600,000 gallons before you need to replace it. So that takes a long time. Zero filter is the best pour-through filter, and everything else just doesn't compare to those two. Okay. So that's where you get clean water.
Okay.
So that's one aspect. Another one is malnutrition.
Okay.
Malnutrition is huge in the elderly. People don't retain their appetite. They don't eat as much. When we say an average size male is going to need 2,200, 2,400 calories a day if they're sedentary to keep themselves going. Mm-hmm. A woman's going to be a little bit less than that, not a huge amount. If you get too little of an intake of calories and a good balanced diet, then so 1,200 calories is considered a clinical fast state. Mm-hmm. What happens when you're taking 1,200 or less calories a day, and some people it's a little higher than this, your body turns into a different way of making energy. Our primary energy source is glucose, and we store that as a starch called glycogen in our muscles, and we got like 15, 17 minutes of energy in our muscles. We got more stored in the liver, and then you start to tap into these other sources. If you get below 1,200 calories for 2.5 or 3 days, the body switches into ketosis. Mm-hmm. And ketosis It's primarily burning fat, but it only works at a maximum of 75% efficiency. So you start not eating enough calories or enough nutrients for a long period of time, your brain has a hardest time to shift into that ketosis state, and it's working at maximum 75% efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
The longer you keep that calorie deficit up, the worse that conversion is. And we don't know how low it goes, but you can tell a lot of people, and I work with a lot of elderly people. Diet is a huge thing. The number one nutrient deficiency in the pregnant women, nursing women, infants, and the elderly is folacin in the active form. So that's your 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate form, and that's the only form that really works. So malnutrition is a huge part of what's going on with this also. We also look at inflammatory responses. Inflammation, it's like sticking a hot knife on a cube of butter that's sitting on your table to the myelin inside of your nervous system. It melts it very, very quickly. And when you start to melt that myelin, you start to get all this short circuiting between all those tracks. And when you start to short circuit, that's when you start to lose function. Memory is one of those huge functions.
Well,
one of the
I was just going to say, so what would you say are the main causes of inflammation for the brain?
That's what the next step I was going through.
Okay.
So you're reading my mind.
Yeah.
The primary thing that causes inflammation is toxicity.
Okay.
Now, if we look at some of the most destructive toxicity, it's been quite a long time they believe that Alzheimer's is diabetes of the brain. Diabetes is when the blood sugars aren't regulating very well. So when the blood sugars get really high, they become very toxic and they create this hyper-inflammatory fire everywhere that will destroy the cell walls of your capillaries, the blood supply in the finer places. And once that starts to happen, you don't get any nutrients, you don't get any oxygen, you don't get anything of any exchange, no excretion of the toxins out of cells and all that. That's what diabetic neuropathy, that's how it works. The sugar levels are too high. It creates these destructions of the capillary beds along with this hyper-inflammatory, fire-like inflammatory issues in all the tissues, and the nerves are one of the most sensitive to that. So that's letting us know that's one of the biggest mechanisms. The primary source of toxicity in the body comes out of the gut. Mm-hmm. And that's why half of our immune system's in the gut, and we got 3 of our detox organs in the gut. It's the small intestinal wall, the colon wall, the microbial coating inside the gut called the flora. Mm-hmm. And that does 3/4 of our detoxification. What it doesn't catch, all the blood supply from the gut goes straight to the liver. The liver is supposed to catch what that is, do what it can, and dump all the refuse back into the gut so we can excrete it. When there's too much of a toxic load, the liver can't catch it all. Then it goes systemically, and these toxins go everywhere in the body. They try and get out of the skin and the lungs, and that's what causes rashes, asthma, and those toxins they store mostly in the fat. So the biggest pool of fat we have is in the brain and the nervous system. Those toxins start going in there, and they start this inflammatory fire, and it starts destroying anything. We add on top of that these anti-cholesterol medicines that go on, and you see people that are on those for a long period of time. Those pull all of those fats, all that myelin out of the brain, and you start shrinking the volume of that brain. I've seen pictures of dissected brains where they're 1/3 to 1/2 the size smaller than what they should be, just from your statins.
Wow. Yeah, that's so bad. Dr. Bad, before we go on, because we're already up against the clock here, I want to let our audience know that they can go to your website, and we'll put this in the show description so they'll get it. But it's hello.healthfully.com, and there they can get your ebook, which I've look at it. It's really informative. It's called Free Healing Lifestyle Ebook. It's about changing your destiny with simple epigenetic lifestyle changes. And so I talk about that, how epigenetics is the study of how our 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 environments, both internal and external, can actually affect and alter our gene expression. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay, epigenetics, when we look at that, every gene that we have in every cell has 30,000 different potential ways it can express itself. Epigenetics is a study of what we do with our lifestyle to change that. Everything affects that. Our relationships, our belief system, our nutrition, the water we drink, everything in life affects that. And the book, Healing Lifestyle, it talks about simple, basic things you can do to change your epigenetic expression. It doesn't change your gene pool, but it doesn't need to. It needs to change the expression of that gene pool, and that can completely change your destiny. In that, it talks about how to deal with your water, what toxins are, what you need to do with your gut to start healing up your gut, different issues about diet. It's this wealth of information that costs nothing other than just putting your email in there, and it downloads it. And on the on the page that comes up that instantly gets emailed to you, you have every link of everything we got. I got on my own podcast. It's called Your Health Reclaimed. It gives you a link to that, gives you a link to our website, gives you a link to my book, which is Exposing Lyme and Chronic Illness. It deals with all of these factors in very practical, simple language, but profound information that they don't even teach in your Ivy League schools.
Wow, that's so good. Yeah, I highly recommend. You're going to get a wealth of information and what you need to do right away, and it's all free. So yeah, be sure and do that. Well, Dr. Brad, we just got about 3 minutes, maybe not even 3 minutes left to go. I want to just maybe kind of summarize. So some what people can do right now to begin to realize how they need to protect their brain is, first of all, not play football, right? That's not a really good thing, right? To get
Not good at all. Rugby's worse.
yeah, you have to rattle your cage. So try not to have any head injuries, and then make sure you stay hydrated, and then make sure you're getting a good, a nutrient dense diet. So just express on that just a little bit.
Yeah, the water, the highest quality, highest energy water is steam distilled. It's absolutely the best.
Yeah.
And for people who can do that, you get a steam distiller. The Aquasana whole house filter and the zero pour through filter are the best ways to do that in a filtration system. It's really good to shower, wash your vegetables and all that in clean water. So Aquasana is really, really up there. The diet, every culture that has good longevity, like all the blue zones that live commonly up to 120, their diets are 50% vegetables.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just can't get around that. So
I'm sure they're organic too, probably, right? Organic. Yeah.
Pretty much are.
Yeah.
So those are two of the biggest things that you can do.
And so what would you say for people who, because you can work with people virtual as well, right? So people need to get, if they're already having a lot of early dementia, they can contact you. Can you work with people virtually?
Most of the people we work with virtually, and for 40 years, we've shared patients with the most prestigious clinics in the world. In every single case, we beat them in diagnostics, care, and resolution of every single case for 40 years. And you can't hear many. I don't know if there's any other natural docs can honestly say that.
Yeah, that's so good. So for someone who's already Okay, we know you need to start drinking more water. Don't get brain injuries if you can. You get a healthy diet. But if you start to lose your memory, short-term memory, what would you say? What else could you do right away to start to improve your short-term memory?
Super high quality fish oil is absolutely
Okay.
mandatory as far as that goes. We
Okay.
test a ton of supplements out there. Right now, I only know of 2 fish oils that have any value whatsoever. 75% of the fish oil on the shelf is rancid before you buy it. If it's
Yeah.
not in the refrigerator, it's junk. If you can get it in a health food store, it's junk. You've got to get it from professional supply. And I've got
Okay.
links to that in my website.
Oh, that's perfect. Dr. Brad, it's such great information, and I wish we had more time. Thank you so much for being here. And I really encourage everybody to go to your website and get that free healing book. So if you like today's episode, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show. And as Einstein always, my favorite Einstein saying, we always give you a lot of good information and knowledge, but knowledge without action is useless. So you got to step up and take action. All right, we are back from that great episode about how you can prevent and reverse dementia. All right, so I have a short message for you, and then we'll come back with our second interview. It's all about how to improve your intimacy and your sex life, which is very important. You know, healthy sex is very important for overall health and well being and for longevity as well. All right.
Wake up feeling exhausted, stiff, and sore? Do you feel like no matter how hard you try, those extra pounds won't budge, and the energy and vitality you once had are slipping further away? If this sounds like you, don't give up. Feeling tired and immobile isn't your destiny. It's not too late to take back your energy, your youthful shape, and feel great in your body again. Meet Rico Caveglia, America's healthy aging trainer, creator of the Aging Living Lifestyle and the Vitality for Life Wellness Program. At age 83, Rico has the moves and vitality of someone half his age and has a fitness age of just 35. For over 40 years, Rico has helped hundreds of people just like you regain their energy and vitality. That's agelessliving.lifestyle.com/coaching to learn more and book your free call with Rico to see if you or your parents are a good fit for this transformational program.
Hello, I'm Rico Caveglia. Welcome to this episode of Fearless Aging, where in every episode, my guests and I, we strive to offer you proven tips and strategies that you can implement immediately to greatly improve your overall health and well-being. So we're here to inspire you and empower you to become your best self so you can go out and make a bigger positive impact in the world. So the title of today's I'm really excited about today's episode. It's going to be a real interesting and beneficial one. The title is Living an Orgasmic Life, the Sex and Intimacy Repair Kit. And our expert guest today, her name is Xanet Paled. She is a nationally recognized sex and intimacy coach, a best-selling author of Living an Orgasmic Life, and the founder of Passionate Intimacy Retreats, where she has led over 100 couples intimacy retreats. After leaving a 26-year sexless marriage and a high-powered legal career, Xanet now helps committed couples who feel stuck, disconnected, or in conflict to transform their relationships into ones filled with intimacy, safety, passion, and joy. And through private and international group retreats, she shows couples how to create emotional and sexual connection that lasts. So, Xanet Palais, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Rico. I'm super excited to have this conversation. I love talking about sex.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's going to be my first question. My very first question is, how did we ever get to this place of having all these problems with sex? And originally our main things that people we need food, we need shelter, and then once we have those human needs met, sex is one of the most important needs. And so in the beginning, we love to eat, we love to have shelter, we love to talk about it. So how did it become a big taboo on sex that it was, oh, you got to be careful, you can't talk about it, and all those things come out, adultery. I mean, how did that happen?
That's such a great question. And I think the answer to that is, it happened a very, very long time ago, right? It happened way back in the 1500s, the 1400s. Like, really, I think, religion played a very large part in becoming a very sex negative society. And that carried forth all the way unto the present, right? Because in the very, very beginning, we were a very sex positive world. But, really, I think it was organized religion, both sides of the aisle, that really started us down this space of having a lot of shame around sex, for it having to be secret and not being able to really, express your pleasure and being in your pleasure. Unfortunately,
I think the cavemen probably didn't have any sex problems, did they?
Right, exactly.
They just said, "Hey, let's have some sex." Yeah,
totally. It's very natural for them.
Yeah, religious. Well, as you know, most origins of religion are based in fear and how to control the people. Yeah.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think a good example then how we can talk about this is tell us your story.
Yeah.
How this happened for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I consider myself a wounded healer. I was living in a sexless marriage for 26 years. And it was mostly because of stuff that had gone on for me as a child, some trauma that I had that I wasn't aware of. Oh, my hair. Mm-hmm. And when I finally left this marriage at the age of 50, so I'm 65 now, when I finally left this marriage at the age of 50, I did a very deep dive into my own sexuality, and it was very painful to sort of understand what had happened to me as a child. And while I didn't have sexual abuse as what we consider traditional sexual abuse, but I had a lot of sexual shame that happened at a pretty early age, because I was apparently, no surprise here, a very curious child about sex, and got caught a couple of times playing doctor or being, doing things with friends. And it just created so much shame in my body that sex just became a really taboo thing for me. And my body just had a very negative reaction when I started having sex. It was like, yeah, no, this is bad. We're not going to do this. It doesn't feel good. There's no pleasure. It was a very negative experience for me. And so ultimately, I just shut down after the age of 30. I had 2 children and I was just done with sex. But clearly that's not a good way to live your life. And that became pretty apparent to me as I grew into my 40s.
Do you think this is it's quite common, especially in America? Yeah.
So common. There are so many women who have had issues in childhood from sexual abuse, trauma, and men as well, who just end up becoming very sexually shut down. And I think, it happens for a lot of different reasons. Shame, trauma, religion, the messages we received around sex. Childbirth can sometimes be very traumatic and cause a woman not to want to have sex again. And so this is unfortunately a very, very common problem for our society. I feel like we're in an epidemic of sexless marriages, and people having less and less sex. And all of the data, all the statistics prove that to be true, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, one thing before we go on, I want to tell our audience to be sure and stay till the end because Xanet has a free gift for you. It's how to improve my love life, and we'll tell you where you can find that ebook, that report. It's going to be really beneficial. So be sure and stay to the end. Okay, so yeah, again, I'm just so wondering how, and just like even in today's society, I mean, why do we make such a big thing about sex? And we're still talking about, oh, this person or this celebrity had sex with this person and all. I mean, why is that who cares? Why is that such a big thing? How did that happen?
Yeah, again, I take it back to like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, honestly, right? Because, they were there to have pleasure and enjoy each other. And then she ate the apple and, everything went to hell. So,
Yeah.
right. But truly, like, I really do believe it's the messages that that we put out as society. Like, you're right. In some ways, like, we're this very like induced, by sex. We see it everywhere. We see it, all over the headlines and whatnot. And yet when it really comes down to it, people are not comfortable talking about sex. There's a lot of shame talking about sex. We've been socialized, both as women and men, not to be comfortable talking about sex. Like, I hear that all the time. I just saw a couple today and they're like, yeah, we've been married 8 years, but we never talk about sex. That's so common. And that creates all sorts of problems in the bedroom when you can't really communicate about something like that.
But also, but then we've kind of gone the other way now, though. I mean, there's so much about, I mean, like we don't really care that much about where somebody lives or what they eat and all that. But like celebrities, why is it so big deal of who they're having sex with or what their sex life is like or all that? Why is that? I don't care. I could care less what anybody's doing with their sex life.
I don't know the answer to that. I think maybe there's a lot of people that like to be little peeping toms,
Well, I guess.
right? Like there's a turn on of like thinking about other people having sex for a lot of people, or look at the sex life they're having that I'm not having. That's probably a lot of sour grapes as well, right? Look, they're having great sex. Why aren't we having great sex?
Yeah.
Living vicariously through the celebrities, through other people. That is something that we do.
Well, that makes me think also of how, as young children, we're not really taught the things we need to learn. Right? We're not taught how to take care of our body and have good health, and we're not taught how to build good relationships, and we're not taught about how to build financial security, all those things, and we're not taught about. We're not really. I heard now that they don't even have any sex education in most schools anymore, and that's a big thing in our life is sex. So how does that happen? Why aren't we even taught about have sex education?
I mean, I think that's like a huge issue. Why did they cut out sex education? Well, unfortunately, I think that's a political thing and a budget thing, and a way in which we're just putting more and more pressure and more responsibility on parents who do a really bad job teaching their children about sex, right? And then what ends up happening is that we learn about sex watching porn. We learn about sex watching movies, all of which is not how sex happens. It's completely unrealistic. But we do a really great disservice in this country of not only teaching sex ed. Even when they did teach sex ed, it was only like to teach you about like, what happens when your hormones change, right? There was never a discussion about like, what creates pleasure in your body and how should you pleasure another person, right? Sex was never about enjoyment and pleasure. It was very anatomical and hormone related. And I think that's because of all the repressed shame we have in this society around sex.
Yeah. Have you heard of a lady? I just recently heard of a lady. I heard her speaking. She's in England, and she has her thing is make love, not porn. Because and she's educating young kids, because especially young men, that's they see so much porn now, they think that's not love, that's not really sex. and so there are some people coming out and understanding how much we need this sex education, and like yourself. So Janae, we're going to take a short 60-second break for an announcement to our audience, and we'll come back, and I want to hear more about your story, how you develop what you do, and how you work with people and help to change and give them an orgasmic life.
Totally. Thank you.
Do you wake up feeling exhausted, stiff, and sore? Do you feel like no matter how hard you try, those extra pounds won't budge, and the energy and vitality you once had are slipping further away? If this sounds like you, don't give up. Feeling tired and immobile isn't your destiny. It's not too late to take back your energy, your youthful shape, and feel great in your body again. Meet Rico Caveglia, America's healthy aging trainer, creator of the Aging Living Lifestyle and the Vitality for Life Wellness Program. At age 83, Rico has the moves and vitality of someone half his age and has a fitness age of just 35. For over 40 years, Rico has helped hundreds of people just like you regain their energy and vitality. That's agelessliving.lifestyle.com/coaching to learn more and book your free call with Rico to see if you or your parents are a good fit for this transformational program.
All right, we're back with Janae Pillay. She's a sexual, passionate intimacy coach. I don't know if I got that right. Or trainer, and does retreats. But before we get into your actual program, how you help people, tell us again. So how did you all of a sudden decide, hey, I got to change? Yeah, how'd you get this wake up and say, okay, I got to change my life?
Well, I think being in a sexless marriage for 26 years was very, very painful for me. I felt very, very broken. And when I left the marriage, that was a big issue for me. It's like I was afraid to have sex with anybody because I knew it was going to be uncomfortable and painful. I'd had so much trauma around it that I just had to take a hard look at myself. And so I ended up going to a number of different training programs where you start to work through some of your own sexual wounds. And they were very, very powerful for me because I began to start to have an experience of like, oh, it's okay to be safe in my body, and I can allow my body to relax more and allow myself to be touched. And it was a slow, painful process, but it worked. Because, I'm 65 and having the best sex I've ever had. And that's something I really want people to know, right? Like,
so good. It's
so important to know that, people in their 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s are having great sex and can have great sex. Like there's not actually ever like a timeline for when sex actually ends until you die.
Yeah, that's so good. That's such a great message. Again, I'm sure there's so many people that can relate to what you're saying. And so that's the message that we always give here. All of our guests give you some great information and inspire you that you can change no matter where you're at, whether it's your health or your sex life or whatever. You can make a big shift and you can change your life just like that. And got to change your mind first, right?
Totally.
Got to change your mindset. Okay, so so you lead retreats, and I don't know if you do private coaching, but so talk about some of your retreats and what you offer people and how you work with people and what you do to lead them through that process.
Yeah. So the work that I do is very, very different than how most therapists and sex therapists work with people. Because generally, when somebody says they've got a problem around sex and they start to see a therapist, which is the typical route that a couple will go down, they are in talk therapy for a very long period of time. But, 90% of the time, talk therapy doesn't actually help when there are sexual issues in a marriage, because while yes, it helps in terms of dealing with the underlying relationship issues. So we know when there's sexual issues, almost always there are underlying relationship issues. But once you get past that and the couple is feeling better, right? it's very hard to really help people improve their sex life unless you start to give them more of a real felt sense of what intimacy feels like in their body. So I am not a talk therapist. That's not the work that I do. When I work with a couple, it is very interactive and experiential. I actually take them through very specific communication exercises where they're opening up to each other about sex. And we get into more of the physical aspects of sex. I teach them very specifically, and they practice in front of me, and I coach them like how to touch your partner, getting feedback from your partner about what feels good, about what doesn't feel good, about something that I call touching for your own pleasure, so that you're actually experiencing what your body feels like when you're touching your partner rather than doing it for them. One of the problems that people get is they're up in their head, and sex doesn't happen in your head. It actually happens in your body. Your brain is a big organ, of course, right? But it happens in your body, and couples need to start to have a felt sense of what intimacy feels like, about what it feels like to build up the sexual energy, the erotic energy between each other. And you can't do that through talk. You just can't. They actually have to experience it in real time. And that's a huge difference in the work that I do. I also work with people over a 4-day period of time. So I do private retreats in Asheville, North Carolina, mostly. And over that period of time, we take a really deep dive, and I'm sitting there in the room with them for 3 hours, both helping them and coaching them. And when some of their stuff comes up, which it does, because this is a very tender area, and I'm well aware of that, we're able together to unpack it and process it and figure out, where is it coming from? Is it a past trauma? Is it a past emotional wound? Are there resentments? Yes, that are holding a couple back from really feeling like they're feeling seen and safe with each other. But that all happens within a very experiential process. We also examine, like, what's your sexual style? There's lots of different sexual styles. Most couples stay in a very, very small box. So sex becomes boring and rote because they're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And maybe they try something new, but it didn't really land for their partner. But this is an opportunity to like really explore. If you're really sensual, what does that feel like? What do you like? How do you like to be touched? If you're really energetic, what does that feel like? People who are energetic actually don't like as much touch. They want really to build up the energy. If you're kinky, here's an opportunity for what does that mean in the context of your relationship. So it's a very judgment-free, shame-free space. And we really get to go deep and explore whatever that couple really needs to explore. Every retreat is personalized specifically for them and their needs and desires. And then I do once a year right now run a group sort of intimacy vacation retreat. I call it Passion in Paradise, in a beautiful place. Like next year, we're going to be in Costa Rica, where a group of 8 or 10 couples come together with myself and an amazing male facilitator. And we take them through like a deep retreat process where they both get to like have vacation time, but also get to go really deep in the context of more of a group setting. Still working with each other. We're not having like orgies. It's very much, one-on-one with the couple. But that's another way in which I really love to work with people. And here's the thing, Rico. Like my couples actually have amazing results. They spend 4 days with me. They've been in therapy for 10 years. Honest to God, this happens all the time. And they actually come out in a different place. And I keep in touch with them. Often we coach afterwards. And the shifts that happen stay because they've actually had like the bodily felt experience. Their body is shifting as they begin to understand how to match their partner, how to attune to their partner. All of that makes just a huge difference, and you can't do it with words alone. It just doesn't work.
I totally get that. I totally get how your process works, because it's like everything. You have to get out of your thinking mind and get into your feeling body, because we're actually feeling beings, But what I think what holds us back in most everything is our mind, our thought process, our
Yes.
thinking. And you got to get out of your head and get into your body. So I think your approach is so good. I can totally see how you're real successful with helping people. And I like how you mentioned about kinky. I mean, even those kind of things are. I mean, we make like things that are a little bit out of the ordinary. Well, that's kinky. I mean, why do we even say that? I mean,
Right.
whatever. If you feel something that you want to do that excites you, and maybe it works together for both you guys. I mean, why should there be any kind of taboo that, oh, that's kinky stuff? Or, I mean, it's just so ridiculous stuff that we get stuck in our mind, and we let it rule our life. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
It's totally ridiculous. It is totally ridiculous. And I
Yeah.
think, that's what people leave. They're like, oh, wow, like there's all of these things that we've never done before that feel really good. And, let's try this and let's try that. And, let's get rid of all of like these false beliefs we have, like, for example, kinky is weird. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe having your hands tied and a blindfold on isn't so weird. It might feel really good for you to have that experience, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever else it is that you're into.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, again, I want to remind you. We'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and tell you now, so we don't run out of time here. We've got a couple of minutes left. If you go to howtoimprovemylovelife.com, there you can tell them what you can get there.
Yeah, so if you go to howtoimprovemylovelife.com, you're going to get some very specific tools and tips to improve your love life.
That's so good. Well, again, we've only got about a minute and a half here. So for our audience listening, what would you say to someone or a couple that has been maybe getting sex therapy and, like I say, just talking that really hadn't done and really helped them that much? What do you recommend they start to do right now? What are a couple of things that they could do right now to really get going on the right path?
Well, I think the first thing that they need to do is to start having like some conversations about like what they really like and what they don't like. Sometimes that's hard to have, but just to start to have a conversation, even write down a list. Often I'll have a couple do this. Write down 5 things that would feel really good for you. You write down 5 things that would feel really good for you. And let's, trade lists, and then have a conversation about where are their commonalities, what are things that we'd actually really like to try that would feel good. I think that's an important piece. Again, the communication piece. And the second part is thinking about when you touch your partner in a way in which you're focused on your own sensation and your own pleasure, because that makes the touch much more connected, and your partner is going to feel like you're feeling them, that you're what I call attuned to them. And attunement makes you begin to start to flow together, which is what we want. We want sex to be organic and flow together. But touching for your own pleasure is a very, very important tool. And most people don't do this. This is a huge mindset paradigm shift, because we usually touch to make somebody else feel good.
Yeah. Renee, thank you so much. I thought that was some great information. I really think what you're offering a really valuable service. So be sure and go to howtoimprovemylovelife.com. Check out Janae's thing. And so if you enjoyed today's episode, tell your friends about the Fearless Aging TV show. And I like to end all of my shows with Einstein saying, knowledge without action is useless, right?
Totally.
So we always give you some
action.
we always give you some good information and wisdom, but you got to act on it. So I encourage you to do that. So thanks very much for being here, and we'll see you next time. All right, we are back. I have another short message, important message for you, and then we'll wrap it up. I have 2
Now, in just 17 minutes, you can get and stay fit and look and feel your best for life. This will be a life-changing and life-saving experience for you. Yes, it's true. Scientific studies have shown the Fast Fit 17 system is the fastest way to achieve maximum results in the shortest amount of time. This is a true fitness breakthrough. This system was developed particularly for busy people over 40 who know they need and want to get into better shape and have more energy, but feel they don't have the time. Now, time is no longer an issue. We want everyone to take advantage of this fitness breakthrough. So, for a limited time, you can get the entire program for only $17. So don't miss out. Order now at fastfit17.com.
All right, that's it for today's show. So be sure and contact our guests, get their free gifts, and learn more about what they have to offer. And I'd love to have you subscribe to our channel. So all that information is in the show description. Thanks very much for being here, and go out and make it a better world for everybody. Be your best self. Thanks very much.